Let's next look at the different types of arteries, types of veins, types of capillaries. Okay, so let's begin with your arteries. So arteries come in three types. Okay. So the largest of the arteries are called elastic arteries. Okay, these have the largest lumen. They have elastin fibers in the tunica media, very elastic, very stretchy. And these are the ones that you find close to the heart. So things like the aorta, right? The pulmonary trunk, the subclavian vein. Those vessels are close to the heart. So when the heart beats, they have to deal with the pressure of the heartbeat. This is why they have elastic fibers in their walls to stretch and come back each time. Okay, so all the vessels close to the heart, which are arteries, are called elastic arteries. Huge lumen to bring the blood in, accommodate the blood, then it will distribute the blood out to other vessels to carry to various organs. So after you pass the elastic arteries, the next artery we have is what's called the muscular arteries. These arteries are also what we call your distributing arteries. They're the ones that are named in terms of where they are. For example, you have your digital arteries, radial arteries, ulnar arteries. These are the arteries that carry the blood around to the various body parts, okay, various body regions. So these have smooth muscles, a lot of smooth muscle in the tunica media. Remember, over here, the media is packed with elastin fibers, and these, not so much. It's more muscle in that layer. This is why we call it the muscular arteries, okay? To distribute the blood to the various body parts. And then, so these are basically medium diameter blood vessels. And then you get to your arterioles. These are the smallest of the arteries. Arterioles, their job is to carry blood into capillaries. Smallest diameter. And their job is to feed capillaries. Okay, so those are arteries. Elastic arteries, muscular arteries, and your arterioles. Let's look at your capillaries. So again, capillaries are your exchange vessels, okay? So let's draw a quick capillary here. So this is your, say, arteriole. Bring blood in on this side. So it's arteriole. Feeding blood into the capillaries where you have this cross. Okay. And then, so the arteriole carries the blood in. That blood can flow through the capillary bed is here. And eventually that blood will flow into veins called venules on the side. So venules over here to receive the blood from the capillaries. So what's interesting here in the capillary is that these capillaries have muscles that surround the entrances into the capillary bed. We call these your pre-capillary sphincters. Okay? And their job is to control blood flow through the capillaries. For example, if the capillary doesn't need blood, for example, there's not enough blood to go everywhere equally in the body. So at given times, the body will shut off blood flow to here so it can go over to here. And so in order to do that, literally, it will shut off the capillaries. So now, if you close off all these sphincters, then the blood will come in and flow right across into the veins and out without perfusing the capillary bed. Otherwise, if these are open, then the blood will go everywhere in the capillary beds, to exchange with things. And so the bed can be perfused or not perfused, depending on what the body needs. But arterioles carry blood into the capillaries, and the capillaries will drain it out into the venules, and then venules the veins back to the heart. Now, your capillaries come in three types. So, types of capillaries. Okay. The most common type is what's called a fenestrated capillary. So here, for the fenestrated capillary, here it's pretend that, again, capillaries typically only have one layer, just a tunica intima, no media, no externa. That's why they're good for exchange. It's easy for things to cross the walls like that without having to go through various tunics, okay? So the ones that are fenestrated, this is make it a linear capillary where you have the blood vessels in the wall of the intima. Sorry, the cells of the intima. So here, in a, not this one, let's do one that's continuous, sorry. In your continuous capillary, which is the most common one, that capillary has, the cells are joined together of the intima, okay? And so, for you to exchange things, the blood must flow into the capillary and cross the cells in order to exchange things. So it's highly controlled exchange. It can only cross across the cells, and which means it must satisfy certain requirements for it to pass through that kind of environment. So it's a highly controlled exchange site. Your continuous capillaries, the most common type. You also have another type called the fenestrated capillary. This capillary here, same idea, you have cells here linked together. But this time, the cells have in them perforations. They have holes in them, literally. Holes here, holes there. And these holes make it more leaky, naturally so. So now, in the blood, things in the blood can pass through the holes to get into the tissue or out of the tissue, okay? So it's very leaky. So then across the cells as well as across through the fenestrations, all right? This one is ideal for exchange of nutrients, of fluids. So fluid exchange. Things like locations such as your kidneys. Your kidneys, where you filter your blood to make urine, will use those capillaries, as well as your small intestine, where you must absorb your meal across your small intestinal wall into your intestinal villus. They must also cross these type of leaky capillaries, okay? And the most leaky of the capillaries is what's called your sinusoidal capillary. This one here, the cells are discontinuous. They don't join together. Kind of almost just there. Okay. And they're also fenestrated. Okay. So now these big gaps they're so big that even so the blood can pass through there, pass through the fenestration, pass between the cells, okay? They're so big that even cells in the blood, the RBCs, can get out. Okay? Big, gaping capillaries. So this one is good for exchange of cells. So you find it in places like your bone marrow. Sorry, your bone marrow has it. to exchange your RBCs and your white blood cells. Same is true for your spleen and liver. These are areas, organs that require cells to be pushed into the blood and taken out of the blood. So those are your three forms of capillaries. Let's pause.